Welcome to the penultimate video in the story of my parents' lives. We pick it up with the passing away of my father at the age of 93. He had a very good memorial service, and this naturally was a difficult time for Mum. It was also time for a new beginning. Mum had been Dad's carer for essentially the last 10 years, and this liberated her. She was 86, she was fit and healthy, she could see her marching here through Cirencester Park, and her mind was as sharp as ever, and she needed it to be. I was going through a divorce, and she was an enormous help at talking things through there. Margaret had broken her neck, and she needed looking after as well. So this concentrated Mum's mind on the present, and I think she did very, very well. Another huge development was focused around Swansea. Mum had helped me find, buy and move into a fantastic house right on the seafront. There it is, in Swansea, and Margaret and Seamus lived in the same square. So Swansea naturally became a meeting point for the whole family, and Mum loved a walk and a talk, and nowhere better than on the beach. You can see her here striding along in full flow. Swansea Bay can be absolutely beautiful. There's a tower there now. You get to the top, and you can see Mum taking photographs very happily here, looking out over Dylan Thomas's bay. So that was very nice indeed. You could also see the next photograph, the hills beyond which she was born. So here's Mum in my new flat, and before my boys went up, they went to Wembley and saw the Swans reach the Premiership, and that was a really important move because it meant that none of us had to timetable going up to Swansea. We knew there was a match every fortnight and everybody would turn up. In particular, David is a fanatical Swansea City fan. You can see it was also a great time on the boat in the Mumbles and doing runs. This is Swansea 10k, I think, Megan taking place, and I shifted a few pounds and managed to do it. So suddenly the whole Swansea experience opened up for the whole family. Meanwhile, Margaret and Seamus, Margaret in particular, still looking after Mum, and for Mum it meant meeting up with old friends. Here was Mike and David from Bishop Gore. So as we move into 2012, life had settled down. This is a trip with Trevor and David to see Katie play for Oxford at hockey. She also got first, which is very impressive. Saw a lot of the grandchildren. Here's Margaret's lot at the races, Mum admiring the daffodils, and Siobhan and Daniel flying high on the trampoline. Here's my tree in blossom, which must mean it's my birthday, and it also means that I get a new fresh pot of marmalade, which is marvellous. Mum leaving Abbey Grounds here and walking through the park. It was also important to put her to work. She was fantastic at putting the laundry up, and I think enjoyed that a lot. Mel passed her interview with Mum. I also moved house to Cheltenham, and that's where we had Christmas. You can see David here cooking a magnificent goose, and Mum telling him exactly what to do, and the four of us sat down and had a very nice Christmas dinner. 2013, and Mum was now a regular visitor to Swansea. To everybody's astonishment, the Swans won the League Cup, which meant everybody was super enthusiastic about the football, everybody going up at least once a fortnight. It was a natural meeting place, so here we all are in Margaret's house, about to enjoy a lovely meal. Here we are in Cheltenham with Trevor and Jill coming up to see Mum, and I think you'll find David lurking away in the background of this one. Here's Mum's living room in Cirencester, and the two boys are going over to see her, which is very nice. Now then, blossom on the tree, that means that it must be my birthday. Get some more marmalade. And here's Matthew looking very angelic with his granny, and if you look carefully you'll see he's in this one twice and not quite as angelic as you think. Midsummer, July the 1st, and Mum's birthday. Margaret was fantastic at organising these extravaganzas. Would get the whole family together. There'd be huge amounts of food. Everybody was very happy, and Mum would be right at the centre of it. And here's David with two of his nephews. We're back in Swansea with Dylan Thomas. They say the sculptor got the chair just right here. And it's a big if this, but if the sun was out and the tide was coming in, we'd have a magnificent barbecue on the beach, which everybody enjoyed, with sandy old sausages and burgers, and Mum right at the heart of things, having a good old gossip with everybody. Then off to the football, you can see James is with us here, and David's very keen to establish that he's still the tallest Hansel. Megan and Siobhan strolling nonchalantly up the beach. It does rain in Swansea. Here's proof, but not all the time. And here's Matthew, and then Thomas down the Mumbles with Granny, and finally Daniel. Here's a bunch of hooligans in London town, and then Trevor coming up to see Mum, which is very nice. Mum mastering kind of modern technology, and we finished the year with Christmas at the Edneys. Very nice. Into Mum's 90th year, with her still in very good health, though all of her grandchildren were starting to overtake her. We went down to Swansea a lot, and on one occasion we actually broke down on the motorway, completely stuck, and Mum had to walk down to the services when Daniel was escorting her there on crutches. Mum didn't have her own private garden at Abbey Grounds, but she loved flowers, and she had a little pot which you used to grow tulips and what have you in. And there it is. Yes, there's her pot, and here's Daniel sitting in a kind of hidden spot round the corner. Back to Swansea, and James and Daniel morphing into the same person, carrying on with the tradition of barbecues on the beach. I think Megan here's got toasted marshmallows, which looks delicious, and the evening sun on Mum and Margaret. Very nice. The big occasion was Mum's 90th, and Margaret had organised yet another extravaganza for her. We actually had all three of the sisters. We had Auntie Celia and Auntie Mary together, I think, for the last time in Cirencester. That meant we had the cousins from Aberystwyth as well, and Cardiff, which was very nice. And here we have Eleanor and Annie with the usual lot, and Mum sitting happily in a chair afterwards. Back to Swansea, and these photographs would give you the impression that the sun shines the whole time, which it most certainly doesn't. Here's a dredger coming out of the docks, and here's Mum. She loves going for a paddle in the water and then pointing out things of interest. We've also got lots of meetings up. Here's Margaret and Seamus, and then off to the football. Megan off with the boys to the football, and then comparing notes with Daniel afterwards. Yet another delicious meal at Margaret's, and then we took all the kids out on the boat, whizzed round Swansea Bay. Here's Siobhan and Megan, and then we put them on the biscuit and tossed them around the place. That was great fun. Here's Mum with Guy Eisner, her old friend from Manchester. I took her up to the old folks' home for them to meet up. Guy was on the very last train, the kinder train, out of Germany before the war. And Mum in her sitting room, and then we're going to finish off the year with some nice pictures from Christmas Day. Everybody's got their Christmas hats on. That was lovely. Into 2015, Mum is a frequent visitor to Cheltenham. Here she is with Mel and a delicious rib of beef, which we all enjoyed. Thomas getting a new jumper. And Mum and Daniel here looking very, very serious. Oh, hang on a second. Here's Mum with a delicious almond croissant from Starbucks. So I suspect it was at the motorway services on the way up to Swansea. We're going up regularly now for matches, and trying to take Mum along was a good thing to do. Here she is with Mr. Eccles and Griffiths, and then after the walk, they're all taken for an ice cream at Verdi's, which I think you can see was very much enjoyed. This is Caswell, another fantastic bay. Margaret taking Mum for a walk there. And the Big Apple, that used to be there when we were kids, so that was really nice to see. Back to Bracelet Bay, and here we are with Tom, and then Mrs. Eccles as well, which is very nice. And Nathan Dyer with Daniel here. How remarkable is that? Here's Mum with Daniel and Matthew. Now, the best breakfast in Swansea, that has to be the Uplands Diner. It's a big trip out for that. It's great. Here's an important day. Eleanor's getting married, the first of Mum's grandchildren. I've got photographs of just about everybody except for the happy couple. We've got Annie coming in on the right here, and Eleanor did sneak in on the left here, but that's the best I could do. I've got David and Margaret here, and everybody sitting very happily by the river. It was a very, very nice day. You can see Thomas there with his granny, and here I am with Trevor, my older brother. So we're into mid-July now, and the weather's nice and hot, and that gives us an opportunity to pose happily on the beach. You can see my friend Phil here, and then as we kind of spread out, you get that kind of panorama. And if you look very carefully here, you'll see that Daniel's managed to go around twice. Here's Matthew with Granny, and then this is Megan's boyfriend. There he is, I've forgotten his name, and here's the view of the bay, and then Kath coming up to see Mum, the two of them. Auntie Nancy would be very, very pleased to see that. We've now got two of Auntie Nancy's girls. I think we're joined by Lydia here. And it was a lovely hot summer, and you can see that we're out on the water here, all very happy. And then off to the football, Katie there with all the boys. The house faced south, so you get the sun first thing in the morning, going over the beautiful docks. And there's Mum. She'd wear her sunglasses and be in the sun all day, go out for a walk on the promenade with David and Daniel. Here she is pointing the way. And where do you think David got that habit of pointing things out from? And as the day wore on, the sun would go off towards the east, and you get a lovely sunset in the winter time. Then before you know where you are, back for Christmas dinner. Here are the boys helping kind of prepare it. And then Margaret and Seamus, Megan and Siobhan and David all come round for pre-dinner drinks. See Mum with a glass of champagne. Here are the cousins here, posing away happily. And Mum with a Christmas cake. I'm going to finish the year with just a photograph of the 4 Hansel boys. There you go. Starting 2016 in Swansea, I used to take Mum down as often as I could, come and pick her up from Cirencester, and we'd try and walk to this green buoy, and she'd sit and wait while I went to the co-op, and then we'd walk back together along the promenade, which was very nice indeed. Mum used to love being taken out. She said that she would never refuse an invite, which is a great motto to live by. And here she is with Thomas in Cheltenham, and she's kind of moving in, puckering up here for a kiss. And I think, don't know who's the most delighted of the two. There you are, she's landing a big schmacker on him, and I think they're both looking very happy indeed about that. Spring comes, and that gives Granny a chance to get herself back out into the garden. Down to Swansea as well. So here she is with Daniel, who's got a ridiculously short haircut now. She loves watching the boats coming in and out. But more than that, she has a diet of ice cream and beer. I think this is the Queen's. What a life. Back to Cheltenham, and Mum has come to inspect the painting of the garage. We've also got the red robins in bloom, which is very nice. She gets a photograph taken with all 3 boys. We've got Thomas, Daniel behind the mask, and Matthew there out on the road. Then a final shot of her luxuriating in the back garden. Wales doing very well at football, so the boys went out to watch them in France. And then this is a big gathering on Mum's 92nd birthday. That's the 1st of July, and you can see that she's enjoying herself, going out for a stroll on the beach afterwards, and sitting right in the middle of this big ring here, so having a good time. We love this sort of photograph. It's really great. Here's David down by the Bryn Mawr, so that's good. And Mum's pretty chirpy about the whole thing. A few weeks later, Kath bought Auntie Mara, which is very good to see. And here is Mum with the boys, James and Thomas. Trevor butting in on the action there, and then James and Thomas again. Here's Margaret with the doomed manager of Swansea City, and enjoying a bit of sunshine here with Mum pointing out things of interest. She'd also read Daily Telegraph from cover to cover every single day, and listen to the radio all night, which is good. I'm with Trevor here, and then Matthew is with Granny there. And Granny, I think, 92 years older. She's looking good, and she loves pointing the way, doesn't she? Here's Trevor again, and then a picture of Mum with Auntie Mara. Mara was born just a few months before Mum, so they're big pals. Then Matthew with Granny, and suddenly we're up to Christmas time, and Margaret and Seamus having a big Christmas party. There's Daniel all dressed up and looking good, and Margaret looking even better with her Christmas tree there. There was music and singing. Here my boys with Granny at the front, and she's looking good. That's in Granny's flat, so everybody's happy there. You can see Thomas with Granny. And then, you know what, we're back to Swansea, and it looks like, yes, it's Christmas time. David is preparing another chicken. Mum's out there on the promenade. She's looking good, if you ask me. She's quite happy. So that's Christmas in Swansea. And somebody gave her these ridiculous, are they dinosaur feet? I think they are. Anyway, it's getting dark. End of the year. 2017, and we're into Mum's 93rd year, and I think she's in good form. Here she is in Cheltenham. We've gone and picked her up and then go out for a nice drink. She's with Daniel here, and then a photograph with me because we started doing videos. Did a lot of those on separate ones for you. And with Margaret and Seamus going out for a meal in Cirencester, and then after that Matthew would help her get upstairs back to her flat. Still going backwards and forwards to Swansea. Here's Daniel now at football. He's been taken there by his Uncle David, and I think we must be winning. And then a nice photograph on Margaret and Seamus's balcony, enjoying the sunshine. Here's a nice photograph with Trevor on the river, I think at Teddington, in the sunshine as well. And you can see that Mum's pretty happy. I think she's in her kitchen here, then admiring my daffodils, a meal at Margaret's, which is very nice, and then out for a drink. And I think we're in an old Cotswold pub, probably the Tunnel House, here with my boys enjoying themselves. So back to Swansea, and you probably gathered by now that we love these group shots. Various members of the family kind of gurning away. So we've got Trevor and Jill, we've got David, we've got Margaret and Seamus, we've got myself. I think the shots are better once they're on the beach. You can see us all looking pretty happy. Gives Daniel a chance to to pose away happily, and you can see I think that everybody's happy. They're not great photographs, but everybody's very happy in them. Here's Daniel with his granny. That's a nice shot, and then Katie as well, and very nice shot to finish on. It's a similar story in Cirencester. We've picked Granny up from her flat in Abbey Grounds, and she's walked round to the market square and is now posing happily. You can see that there's no trolley. She's walking with a stick, and she's walking very well, and she's still extremely mentally sharp as well. Daniel there escorting her back to her flat, where she makes delicious Welsh cakes. Yes, here's Matthew with her in my garden. Her mum loves plants. She's very happy here with this green thing pointing away very happily. David would come up regularly, and that was another good opportunity. And here she is with my boys. Back in Swansea with Auntie Ma, and a big gathering for Mum's 93rd birthday. Magnificent achievement, and Swansea laid on the red arrows to fly past, I think in a fitting tribute. David had walked down to the river, which must be kind of close to a mile and back, and here she's enjoying the sunshine with Daniel. And then back in Cirencester at her flat, James and David turned up to see her, and David and Granny always make a fine photograph. Here's Mum leaving yet another lovely meal at Margaret's. This is the family Bible, and I did have a few questions to ask her about. Mum, how have you got this Bible?
I have had it for about 80 years, but it originally belonged to Christopher Evan of Llanganwyd. On it is written, Christopher Evan, his holy
No need to read it all
Bible,
out, Mum.
in the year of our Lord, 1834.
Is it Welsh or English?
The Bible is in Welsh.
Who translated the Bible into Welsh?
Bishop Morgan. And in the year 1588, and he travelled with the Welsh translation of the Bible to take it to the printer in the middle of a terrible storm.
Was he Protestant or Catholic?
They were Protestant, they were chapel.
But
they still went to church for all the offices relevant to them.
Right. Gosh, you've had that for 80 years. And do you read it every day?
I have never read it, I'm afraid.
Terrible, terrible. Oh, say goodbye.
Goodbye, and I hope the new owner of this Bible will use it more than I have.
I think you can hear that she's still very sharp. Here she is in Cirencester, where she walks around and goes off for a meal at the King's Head, and then Christmas Day in Swansea with the boys, and here she is walking along the promenade. Another very good year. It's 2018, Mum's 94th year. She's still in very good health overall, but slowing down a bit. David's come down to Cirencester to see her and to take her out, and Trevor's taken her to the National Gallery in London, which is great. This is the magnolia tree, normally in blossom in March. It's my birthday now, so my birthday tree, disappointing, not in blossom, but we still went along and had a look at it. Matthew used to work in Octavia's bookshop in Cirencester, and he took Granny to have a look, and then back off to Swansea.
Who's this? Who are you?
I am Gwen Hansel, née Evans.
And what do you think of this new
Well,
walking?
I feel when I'm with this that I'm Gwen Evans again.
Note the appearance of the wheelchair, which used for extra stability, and note the appearance of David's paella, which is a magnificent feast. Took Mum off to Rosilly, the magnificent sweep of Rosilly. Here I am with her taking a couple of photographs. You can see the worm behind, and here's a nice shot of David, and then an even better shot of David and Mum looking over at the worm. Here are a couple of photos of Mum in her flat. I think she was very happy there. And then on to my 60th birthday party. She turned up for that. It was very good to see her. She was the star attraction. And then that was followed by an even bigger event because Trevor gave his inaugural lecture as a professor at Imperial. Mum was in the front row listening to every word. And Dad would have been very, very proud if he'd been there. His own father was in the first year of graduate intakes in 1907. So it was a big deal. Here are the three sisters from Gadlis Farm, Celia, Gwen and Mary. Mary, unfortunately, had Alzheimer's now, was being looked after in Cardiff. Mum at this stage was in pretty good nick. She was, enjoying her ice creams and having a good time. Kath was a regular visitor in Swansea, which was very kind. Here's that boy that we used to walk to. You can see Mum going along the promenade with a wheelchair now for extra balance. And reading the Times, not the Telegraph, and you can see in quite good, chortly sort of mood. Kath would bring Auntie Mara up, and that was a very good thing because the two of them were big pals, I think, as you can see from these photographs here. Mum also big pals with Thomas here, who's wheeling around the place, whether it be in Swansea or indeed in Cirencester. Here's Mum in Cirencester with all the flowers, and you can see she's the matriarch in the family and takes that position very seriously indeed. My friend Dave Allen, who went to see her kind of 40 years before, she served him quackerduck, and there's some very nice photographs of them all together. Mum kind of hamming it up in here in Cirencester. Then back to Swansea. You have to take this warning seriously. Don't be a lobster. David Eccles and ice creams in the Mumbles, and then on to Caswell Bay. What a beautiful bay Caswell is. So there's a surfside cafe at Caswell and at Langland, so we love that. What we particularly love, sunbathing in the front there. Here's a nice shot with me and Mum. And Kath comes up a lot. There was a celebration of 100 years of the First World War, so we were looking at that. And Gaynor coming up as well, which is very, very nice indeed. And then suddenly, well, we're on to Christmas Day. This is at Margaret's. I got that for Mum. It's a kind of funny kind of wrap-around scarf thing. So a lovely day there with Margaret, and then back to Swansea for the new year. You can see that the sun's out, which is very nice indeed. There's all the boys with Granny, and even more boys down the pub. I think that's the Pilot, my favourite pub, and finishing the year with Mum and Margaret. 2019, and Mum's 95 now, and this is when age really started to catch up on Mum. Her mobility was getting worse, and her memory was getting worse. You can see her kind of pushing David here, but she'd had problems with her shoulder and had been prescribed steroids for that. And just generally, she was slowing down. Still had lots of happy occasions to go. This is her birthday. Here's Ellen looking very chirpy, and Thomas. She had all the kind of grandchildren around, and you can see that she was in fine form. Eleanor and Janet there, and everybody round the table underneath the cherry blossom tree. Mum very happy, and I think so's Margaret there. So these were really happy occasions. Jeremy chortling away. So yes, look at that. It's pretty idyllic. Seamus being sensible, and David not being sensible, I think, which is kind of par for the course. Matthew with a ridiculous haircut. There's Annie with her mum, which is very nice to see her, coming up to see her granny. And there's Matthew with that haircut, a bit more of a close-up. Who's this senatorial-like character? And these two chortling away happily, and lots of photographs. So now it's the big cake moment coming up. Yes, there's Margaret. That could take the whole building up. Obviously, Mum delighted with the whole thing, champagne flowing. Nice picture with Janet, very good indeed. And these occasions Mum loved, but of course they were the exception to a large extent, because by now she was spending quite a lot of time kind of by herself in her room. We were still taking her to Swansea, but it was getting kind of harder and harder. We're in Cirencester now. The bakers are closed. That was a tragedy. But the boys went round often, and you could see Mum was very comfortable in her flat.
There she is. That's good walking, Mum.
On the whole, she was remarkably happy.
Are you in a good mood?
No,
Are you pleased to see me?
somewhat
Very pleased, extremely pleased, or delirious?
delirious.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Though the trips to Swansea were getting far and few between, it was getting more and more tricky, which meant more time was spent in Cirencester. Daniel was a very, very frequent visitor, two of them chortling away happily. And there's Mel going around as well. So nice picture with Trevor here. And you could get Mum to send amusing messages.
Go!
Right, Lizzie.
Yes.
It's Gwen here.
Yes.
And I have been told to say, Lizzie, you are a lovely girl.
She is a lovely girl.
She is a lovely girl, not was,
Yes.
but will be.
Yes, yes.
And I wish you all the love in the world.
She was still very concerned with all members of the family.
Use your push along.
Me?
Yes, you in the house.
Yes.
Good girl. Say hello to Margie Moogles.
Hello, Margaret.
She's a good girl.
Cecilia.
She's a good girl, and Siobhan's having her eyes done. Say good luck to Siobhan.
Oh, good luck to Siobhan. Tell her I love her very much.
That's very nice.
Christmas was still a huge highlight.
Moogles bought you this carrot cake. What do you think of it? Delicious?
It was delicious.
Yes, and are you looking forward to seeing everybody on Christmas Day?
Oh, Christmas Day. I think we're going to have a wonderful day.
Yes, so do I. We'll see everybody then, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a wonderful day.
Good girl.
You can see here that Mum had a hearing aid. Her hearing had started to go. And this was tricky at night because she liked to play the radio at kind of maximum volume, which disturbed the neighbours. But here we are. Christmas has come round. Everybody's got their kind of silly hats on. And we're all at Margaret's. And I think we had the whole lot round for Christmas dinner. It's a beautiful day. The barn was looking splendid. The garden was looking splendid. And Margaret produced, this is a panettone trifle. It's absolutely gorgeous. So everybody kind of stuffed and then sits down and watches telly after that. This is Sue, I think, Mum's big friend Sue, who came around for Christmas dinner. There we all are for Christmas dinner. That's a fine achievement, Margaret. David gave Mum a very special leather bag for Christmas.
Mum, what's the best Christmas present you've had this year?
That's a tricky one.
What would you say it is?
Having you...
Okay, take two. Let's see if she gets the answer right this time.
Mum,
Hello.
what's the best Christmas present you've had this year? What could it
Oh,
possibly...
my handbag.
How much do you love it?
Oh, I love it inordinately.
And it's, you know, they are fought over by ladies for those
Yes.
special, they usually make gloves.
Yes,
But
that's
this is,
right.
and is it the best handbag you've ever had in your life?
Oh, by far.
And who's your most handsome son, would you say?
Oh, my middle son.
Oh, I thought it was David. He's upset now.
David's my baby.
He is your baby. He's always been a baby. He's crawling away now.
At the beginning of 2020, storm clouds were gathering. The steroids had helped Mum's shoulder get better, but she was still on them. Her dementia was gathering pace, and we didn't know it, but the pandemic was about to break and lockdown was only a matter of weeks away.
Would you say you're proud of your children?
Yes.
Are they a good bunch?
Yes.
Kind hearts?
Pardon?
Have they got kind hearts?
Yes, but they haven't got coronets.
No, they haven't, have they? They've had to rely on their wits and brains. Do you know where they got the wits and brains from?
You.
You. You didn't get them from me. You got them from you. You're a very clever girl, aren't you? Very clever. Very talented. Right.
Not quite talented, you know.
Margaret was busy organising all aspects of Mum's life.
Mum, how old is Margaret going to be next birthday?
60.
60, that's impossible. And where was she born?
She was born in my bed
Which was where?
in Cheadle-Hulme.
Was it an easy birth?
Yes, comparatively.
And why did you call her Margaret Cecilia?
I called her Margaret after Margaret Stafford
Yes.
and Cecilia after my sister.
Now, you've told me many times what a wonderful baby I was. Was Margaret a well-behaved baby?
Oh, she was good as gold.
Good as gold. Did
Yeah.
she ever cry?
Never cried.
No.
No.
Was she a good walker and a good talker? Was she a
And
good baby?
she always used to wait for me because I had 3 or 4 other children. And when I used to keep the pram outside to get the fresh air. And as soon as she saw me or she heard the pram would shake all over and Margaret would get so excited.
She's like that with Seamus now.
She didn't just run mum around to all of her appointments and shopping and what have you, but critically also got full-time carers in place who were living with mum before the pandemic.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Make a wish.
Make a wish.
She loved events like Megan's birthday.
A nice time at Margie Moogle's
Oh,
yesterday.
it was magic.
Yes.
We snatched a couple of hours and she gave us a lovely time.
Roast lamb.
Roast lamb.
I thought Seamus's carving was excellent.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And the grandchildren were very good.
Oh, they were lovely.
It was a great day, wasn't it?
It was a great
Say
day.
thank you to Margie Moogles. Look at the camera.
Oh, Margaret,
Thank
you
you.
gave us a wonderful day.
She's a good girl.
These are poignant pictures because mum had a network of friends in Abbey House and they all looked after each other, saw each other first thing in the morning. Here she is with Sue. But by the time Mother's Day came round, we were into lockdown and we'd formed a little bubble to look after mum to make sure that she was well cared for. And then once lockdown came, well, she was restricted to her house and essentially her room, which was very restricting indeed. Couldn't see Sue anymore. We tried things. This is like a Zoom call, which is new to us all. I haven't got any words, but you can see we're obviously having fun. And as soon as we could go around, I'd try and take it out into the outside air, the kind of sensible place for her to be. And you can see her slowing down now in a house.
Start singing, girl.
Happy
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you. 3 cheers! Happy birthday! Hip hip! Hooray!
Hooray, Mum.
Hooray! Hooray!
Lockdown was a terrible time for all people, restricted to their houses, not supposed to go outside, and at the same time the weather was absolutely gorgeous.
Today is a beautiful, beautiful...
I would get round to Mum's flat and you could look out of the window and see a police car parked in Abbey grounds, stopping everybody going out. So we'd have to wait half an hour. And then by the time I got Mum outside and into the park, the place was heaving with old people. David also risked the wrath of the authorities by coming up on the train. We kept them well apart, but it was really important for everybody to see each other. And Mum had a lot, I think, a lot more of this than most old people are able to.
What message have you got for your grandchildren?
That I love each and every one of them.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Are they a fine bunch?
They're a magnificent
Bunch of Hansels. And do you think they'll make a difference in life?
Well, they are making
Yes,
a difference
yes, they
in life
are.
already.
Yes, right. Blow them a kiss then. Come on, let's do.
Oh.
Bye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
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 Margaret had done a crucial job in getting full-time carers in place before the pandemic started. So we had Lucy and Susie, who both did 5 weeks on and 5 weeks off, living full-time with Mum. And that made a huge difference. As the pandemic came to an end, you could see Mum out in the park seeing Sue again and with ducklings. And this is Lucy here. And they were big friends. Both of them worked incredibly well together. So that was a huge success. David was continuing to come up. The ducklings or goslings or whatever they were getting bigger and bigger. And the ice cream man was back out. Mum loved an ice cream, if not an ice cream, then a coffee. Susie got her trying out all sorts of hats, which was a tremendous success, particularly like this Chinese version here. So the whole episode with carers, enormous success. The first lockdown came to an end in time for Mum to be able to celebrate her birthday, yet again at Margaret's. You can see that David was put to work here, moving various fauna and flora, and here are Megan and Siobhan, who are there to see their granny on her birthday, which is very nice indeed. And it was a typical Margaret extravaganza. Mum really enjoyed it. I think Trevor and Jill had made the journey up, which was also great to see them. Seamus burning barbecue sausages, sitting underneath the tree, and yet a magnificent pavlova. His Trevor looking just like Anthony Hopkins. Mum enjoying herself before being taken back home to Abbey grounds by Margaret. The pandemic, though, did contribute to Mum slowing down as more and more of her time was spent in her room. Very, very lucky to have Susie there, who was doing a PhD on music therapy for old people, the music that they used to like in their teen years. In the summer, we did get back to a bit of normality. This is Mum's birthday. Susie organised drinks in the garden with residents of Abbey House. The signets were getting bigger, and Mum, well, she loves an ice cream. It was also an opportunity to take her out. Here she is at the Corinium Court Hotel, out of focus, but she was having a nice time, having a drink and a meal in the garden. Margaret was taking her off to get her hair done for the first time for ages, and this is a kind of a rare trip to Swansea now with the Mumbles and the Marina, so that's very nice. Valerie had been a great friend. Mum was seeing less of her as she was less able to hold a conversation, but Valerie had been one of Mum's really great Abbey House friends. Here I am wheeling around. We had a little kind of circuit, and here she is trying her hats on, which is very nice. I was able to get her over to Cheltenham, which is good. You can see that Daniel and Thomas were very happy indeed. But more often we'd be in Cirencester. This is outside the Wool Church. Again, yet another kind of magnificent ice cream. And I think Margaret's taking her for a meal out here, which is very good. We would go round and round Abbey grounds, and the views were really quite beautiful. This is an inspection of the tree in the little mead, and Mum's very happy to see that. And look, she's a happy old girl, and she loves seeing her grandchildren. There's some nice photographs here with Thomas coming back to see his granny, and they're very, very fond. I think that goes for all the grandchildren.
Are you proud of Thomas?
Oh, magnificent.
Why is he magnificent?
Why is he magnificent?
Yes.
He's my grandson.
Yeah, is he a good grandson?
Yes.
And Thomas, what do you think of Granny?
She's magnificent.
Ah, they're both magnificent too. Okay.
Here she is, going to feed the ducks. It was important to get Mum out of her flat. The carers needed a rest, and she needed sunshine and a good shot of caffeine by the looks of it as well. So we had many, many happy hours around the lake.
What did you think about David's photograph on his website?
Oh, it's vastly impressive.
It is impressive. Do you think he's done well?
Yes.
He's a very clever boy, you know.
So we're into October now. David was a regular visitor, and we needed to take Mum somewhere sheltered. So we often went to the old gatehouse of the Abbey, 11th century gatehouse, and had a coffee. And if the sun was out, then we'd go to the front of the church. You see, I'd put Mum in that little alcove there, and nip over the road and get a coffee, which she loved, sometimes into the Abbey grounds as well. And the signets were coming along really nicely. The weather got worse, and we spent more time sheltering underneath the gatehouse. And here's Daniel. Well, Daniel had come along, and everybody's really happy about that, raising our cups to a cup of coffee. That meant there was a photograph of me as well with my mummy, which is always good. And here I am with Mummy and Daniel, and that was excellent. Sun going down on the year. All the signets had survived. That was a huge triumph. And look, Matthew'd come up with his Doctor Who scarf, which is very nice. Mum with two of her boys there, and with Matthew. So it's Christmas again, and Mum has weathered this terrible year of pandemic, I think as well as she possibly could have done, given the circumstances. Having the carers in place, having lots of attention, worked for her far better than lots and lots and lots of other old people. But it still took its toll, and Mum had slowed down considerably, I think, mentally and physically by the end of this year. Here we are in Cirencester Park, and here's a commentary at the end of the year. Mum's world was getting smaller now, spending most of her time in Cirencester. She got vaccinated against COVID, and when she did eventually get it, it didn't really affect her. But she was spending more and more time in her room here, having a snooze, or she was quite a happy old girl, looking out of the window. And of course, she had a magnificent view over Abbey grounds. If the weather was kind, we'd get her out, wrap her up, and then take her for a couple of loops of Abbey Grounds. The coffee man opened up, and he was very kind to Mum, so we'd sit there having his chocolate brownies. She also liked the amaryllis. Dad used to like amaryllis as well, watching them grow, and this is in the market square. We'd like to go a little bit further afield. Here's Mum all wrapped up because we're going to go past Little Mead for a little inspection and then into Cirencester Park for a coffee. This is a fantastic photograph of Megan and Mum. And look who's back, Sue's back. Isn't that nice to see? Margaret took her on lots of trips for lunches and for ice cream and delicacies. And here's one of her carers in Abbey House.
Go.
If winter comes, can spring be far behind?
That's very good saying that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So eventually winter gives way to spring and all the blossoms come out and Abbey Grounds is completely transformed. It's a chance to inspect all the blossom trees and all the flowers and all the buds. Here's Mum in the courtyard of Abbey House.
Oh, go on.
Dilly dumpling,
My son John. Once more.
Dilly dilly
Dumpling.
dumpling, my son John.
I love that. That's
I
great.
know.
But as we moved into another beautiful spring, it was becoming clear that things needed to change. Mum was pretty good in the day. You can see her inspecting the new chicks at Margaret and Seamus's, and there's the family there. But the night times were getting harder and harder, and the arrangement with Susie and Lucy couldn't hold forever. So although these are very kind of happy photographs, something needed to change as Mum's dementia got worse. This is the last time we stood next to my birthday tree. Susie in particular had done an absolutely fantastic job, and she and Mum were very fond of each other. Mum and I were very fond of each other as well. But here we are. This is the Crinium Court Hotel. Sue was around, but not for much longer. And Janet came up, which is Mum was always pleased to see her. Margaret did take her on trips. This is one to Avebury, I think, which is pretty ambitious and very different from the last time I took Mum to Avebury. But she clearly enjoyed herself enormously. So we're into the last few months now of Mum's time in Abbey House. Susie had done a fantastic job. Here we are at the Crinium Court Hotel. And with Mum, one of Mum's special friends, she had lots and lots of friends in Abbey House. Susie and Lucy, that's a nice picture. And here's Sue, we don't think that's the last one. James came up, good old James, good to see him, made the effort. And this is a typical view with the church in the background. This is going for a nice cup of tea in town with Margaret, and I think I came along as well. Yes, I think that's Blackjack Street, I'm not sure. Here's Lucy. She was a good girl. She and Mum got on extremely well and were very, very happy together. But I think you can see now from the pictures that Mum's basically getting older, and as I say, especially at night time, needs care. This is another trip out to, I think, Gloucester Cathedral. I think David and Megan kind of came along, everybody enjoying themselves there. I think that's Gloucester Cathedral. Having a little inspection, and this is Megan's jaunty sports car with Mum in the passenger seat, so that's very, very nice to see. Yes, never forget your Welsh. Mum at Dobby's here, but we're into June now, which means it's the last couple of weeks. I'll always remember walking Mum round Abbey Grounds. It was a particularly happy time. It was a good loop to make. And I think you can see here that she's with Susie, but also photographs tell 1,000 words. And you can see, I think you can tell from these pictures that Mum was slowing down and it was increasingly impossible for her to live happily in Abbey House. So the time was coming to say goodbye to everything. A big party was organised, and I have to say there was a fantastic turnout of all of Mum's friends, and I think you can see that she was very, very popular there. Look at that for a turnout. It's more than I get, I tell you. Here she is with Susie, and then tired and happy at the end of the day. Margaret had felt it important we get to Mum's birthday on July the 1st before she moved out and made the next big change. There was a great turnout. I think we had all of her children and most of her grandchildren. And not surprisingly, we all had a very happy day in the sunshine.
Cheers, everyone.
Give the chicken again. Give the chicken. That's it, guys. Off you go now.
Susie had joined us. She's almost become part of the family by now. And of course, the grandchildren were there. Some nice photographs of Mum being completely dazzled in the sunshine, but having a nice chat as well.
I'm just making a video.
Female version.
Yes?
Hello.
Hello.
David didn't want to be compared to
No, David is totally unique.
Anyway, siblings.
They were rough copies and you're the master.
John and Trevor.
Said it would take 3 hours. Like, okay, maybe.
So we're getting to the end of what I call the glory years for Granny Gwen, the 10 years. It started with sadness with Dad's death and it ends with sadness with Mum moving on to her home. But in between, I think she had a fantastic time. She loved her children and she loved her grandchildren.